Hey, it's America's Man's Man, founder of manhub.org, an online community for men. Well, after launching this online community for men and calling out Mark Zuckerberg, the misanthropic founder of Facebook, on all of his lies, suddenly I can't post any live videos on Facebook. I wonder why. So I was talking to a friend in the business of coding, gaming specifically. He's not super successful, but he's pretty good at what he does, and he's done all right. And he we happen to be childhood friends, and he said, Pete, I can't get in on this ManHub deal because I have my values don't allow for it, something to that effect. But he used the word values. And I thought about it. And what is Silicon? What are the values of Silicon Valley? And it turns out critical thinking isn't one of them. So what I've been able to understand as I thought about what my friend said, I'm not going to name him because we're childhood buddies. You know how that is, and we have faith in each other. We try at least if you're on the critical thinking side, if you're on the side of America, you believe that if you have a reasonable argument, the best, most logical thing wins out. So And we actually mean that, unlike the left, which is draconian, and if you don't agree with what they're doing, then they tend to get very angry. But anyway, I was thinking of it. This thing he said, I can't get in this ManHub deal, which in this mission of mine to free Americans from the influence, from the control of Silicon Valley, the Fang Companies, Facebook, Apple, Amazon, Netflix, and Google. And I realized as I was thinking about what he said, my values don't agree with what you're doing. How can that possibly be? Because I want to help people to gain control over your online presence. And I show you how at americasmansman.com and through manhub.com, which is allowing you to... Here's the cool thing about ManHub. If you don't like manhub.com, you can actually, because of this thing called the Fediverse, it's a long story. You can look it up, Fediverse and Mastodon. But you can actually take your following with you. So you're not going to build a following on ManHub and then have it taken out from under you. I can't. I'm unable to. If you're a member of the Mastodon network, if you partake in the Mastodon protocol, because your username is good across what's called the Fediverse. So it's complicated, but basically. You can keep, unlike Obamacare, where you can't really keep your doctor, you can keep your screen name, you can keep your following. Now, naturally, there are some things that we want to keep just within the ManHub community, and so that would be an exception. But again, that's your choice. All you have to do is just go to another Mastodon server, and there are plenty of them out there, and you can take your following with you. But none of them, of course, provides the security that ManHub does, and that's part of what makes us different. Plus, you can be assured that you're talking to good, verified, quality guys. That's the ManHub difference. And because the Fediverse, kind of like the early internet chat rooms, I don't want to say it's sketchy, but it is. It's pretty. It takes all types, but you don't want to be interacting with most of the people on there. My humble opinion, ManHub, solid guys with good values. And talking about values again, when you grow up in leftist New England, you're getting the same ideology. It's not values, but it's an ideology. And millennials think they have values. Millennials were brought up with this inability to think critically, like my friend. he's been fed this lie from all the media he has ever received from the time he was a little kid, and his whole ecosystem of people is all telling him, with the exception of me, of course, that yes, just be that one person to make a difference. And really, he's not. Really, he's just doing what's easiest. He's really going with the flow of what he was brought up with. He's doing what's easy here in leftist Massachusetts. But which is, or what was easy once upon a time. It's changing. Massachusetts is getting a little bit more red, thanks to the rhinos. But we're getting more conservative. We're getting more patriotic and godly by the day, thanks to institutions like the emergingmanhub.org. And it is .org, not .com. It's manhub.org. A very important distinction. I remember I was in Linfield High School, and someone made the mistake of going to whitehouse.com instead of whitehouse.gov, and big mistake. Those tricky, salacious internet developers. It's always been a sordid place, the internet. It was, people call it, it's a breeding ground for sickos. Is what we used to joke when I was even in middle school, and it still is. So manhub.org is different in that we verify every single person, at least their identity. So you're talking to a real guy, and there's some accountability. We're not. It's not like joining a church, but it's at least you're talking to a real person. But anyway, millennials have been fed this lie by their whole ecosystem. All the, when I say their ecosystem, like at the Linfield public school system, a government school system run by government teachers who have to join the union in Massachusetts. You cannot work in a Massachusetts school if you don't join the union. You think that has an impact on the way they report social studies instead of history, and everything else? You betcha it does. I went in depth. I named names about all the communists who fed me communist lies as I went through the Linfield public school system, Linfield government school system. You can check that out in one of my other vlogs on americasmansman.com. It's all there for you. Lots of intel to win the culture war against evil, the people trying to take this country down from the inside. Now, my childhood friend, he doesn't even know that he's being used by people who have been influenced by the communist fake news media from the time the media began, took prayer out of public schools, took those are values like persistence, as President Calvin Coolidge said. The omnipotent value of persistence is what President Coolidge called it. And all those good things about men being men and women being women. Because I got news for you, childhood friend. What everything Silicon Valley stands for, they're not. What they are is it's an ideology that happens to work with Silicon Valley's profit model. Okay, so it's what best. Just like the fake news media profits when America suffers. The Twin Towers burning are the best things that ever happened for the fake news media. They wet their pants when they saw those towers burning. They couldn't wait to get there. That's how they make their money. It's their bread and butter. Just ask this former fake news anchor who's met the people you see on TV, have heard on the radio. They don't have it all together. They're not wholesome, forgive my expression, but they're not wholesome church people. Not the kind of person you want looking after your kids. That's all we're going to say in this post about that. But anyway, the Fang Companies promote what fattens their wallets, their stockholders' pockets, just like the fake news. Silicon Valley, the Fang Companies, and their entire ecosystem they've created where everybody's sucking up to the Fang Companies except for a rare few like AmericasMansman.com's providers. Because there are good people out there. I've found them. I want to connect you with them, and I want to help you secure your online presence from the evil Fang Companies and their axis of evil. But yeah, I just want to tell my childhood friend, look, you've bought a lie, and teachers have been lying to you. I can, I know it's cliche, but it's the Matrix, man. It's knock knock, Neo. Knock knock. This is the meaning of red pill. You look at that hashtag red pill. Do you think it's a value, childhood friend, to make your family's future perilous and riskier and harder? You want to give your children higher hills to climb because of the values, and by values I mean the ideology that you've been programmed with by television and the union schmucks who are paying their union bosses, who educated, and by educated I mean indoctrinated you in Linfield government schools. Do you think that's what a man is supposed to do? You think that's a value, or do you think that's indoctrination? Do you think that the Silicon Valley ethical system, and by ethical system I mean ideology, do you think their unthinking lockstep promotion and submission to sodomy is a virtue? Do you think that that's edifying to the soul of man? Maybe that's a little too high-minded. So let's step that back a bit, because you're probably triggered by now. We'll put it in terms I think you can understand rather easily. This like obvious black and white. And I know you think I'm a concrete thinker, but just bear with me a sec here. Stay with me, childhood friend. Childhood friend, millennial, all grown up now. Do you think that men who buy into a life philosophy of escapism, where they actually, their DNA is male, but they believe that they're really a female, even though all they have to do is look down? Do you think that that's a value, or maybe an ideology that maybe they need to think just a little bit more about? I'm going to be a little explicit here, if you forgive me the language, but I don't know any other way to put it. You think a dude, who obviously has a penis, has always had a penis, you think him calling himself a girl or a woman, or a half girl, half man, something like that, maybe one of the various fictional 72 genders. Do you think that kind of belief is one of a sane person, or perhaps something that's been drilled into his head so many times by all the people in his life, under penalty of losing his online livelihood, his job, and that sort of thing, under penalty, the fear of threat, of a kind of draconian threat that his existence is very threatened. Just like my existence was threatened when I was fired because I dared to speak truth to a woman who told me that she was marrying another woman. So I know this firsthand. Do you think a man who clearly has a penis, clearly his DNA is male, who thinks he's a woman, like who believes he's a woman, do you think that belief is a value or an ideology that maybe too much television has, and too much indoctrination from a very young age has kind of drilled into that person? And do you think that benefits society, that the man thinks he's a woman, but obviously he's not? Is that a value, Or maybe, I mean, bear with me here, because I know this is so offensive that I should even dare to talk about it, because that's the point, right? To control your thoughts, to tell me what I can and cannot say, even if it's painfully obvious and the emperor has no clothes. Do you think a man who wants to wander into the girls' locker room because, he just happens to be a girl, even though he clearly has a penis, or, who knows? Even, do you think that's a value, or do you think that's a draconian ideology? Maybe. Do you think that just maybe his cross-dressing is maybe just a little bit misdirected and doesn't serve him in society well? Just maybe. Do you think that a man who is competing on a woman's team, do you think that a transgender woman who competes on a woman's team and just happens to win every time, do you think there's something wrong with that? Did you ever see that movie Man on the Moon? This used to be a punchline on television, and now it's reality. Andy Kaufman, he would wrestle women because he couldn't wrestle men, because he was a little wussy. Actor, comedian. Childhood friend, are the values that you are standing for really values? Or are they an ideology built on what the Bible says is sinking sand, a foundation of sinking sand? If you don't have a solid foundation, then the slightest wind, the slightest anything can knock it out from under you. Just something to think about. I'm not here to tell you what to do. I'm here to present what I think in my mind, in my logical mind, which once resented Christianity, because I was brought up in the same ideological echo chamber, the same leftist, communist ideological echo chamber, fueled by the media with its entertainment, anti-American values, which profit itself at the expense of America, at the expense of the collective imagination, the collective enterprise, the collective intelligence and whole personhood of the American people. That media, and I know that because I am a former fake news anchor by training and by education. So I know the fake news. I know the people in the fake news. I know what motivates them. I know what makes them tick. And they profiteer off the misery of the American people. I've studied this at length, and I'm happy to engage further too. If you have any questions, I'm here to educate. I'm here to enlighten. That's why I believe God put me here, to remind us of what really makes this country so great. And Silicon Valley does not represent our great Republican tradition, or democratic tradition, if you will. They don't even represent classical liberalism. They represent radical communism. They represent radical leftism. They represent draconian attacks on my freedom to speak and yours, even if you don't realize it yet. It's just like was said about the Nazis. When they came for the Jews, I didn't say anything because it wasn't I that they were after. When they came for the Poles, it wasn't I, so I didn't say anything. And finally, the Nazis came after me. So, the enemy, the left always likes to accuse good, patriotic Americans, Bible-believing Christians, of what they themselves are guilty of. This is textbook leftist training the teachings of Saul Alinsky, who created the Hillary Clinton phenomenon. I'm not the enemy. I represent all that's good and holy about America, along with my personal, faults too. But I represent in what is in Massachusetts anyway a minority opinion, but the very opinion and the very idea, the very American idea that this great nation was founded upon by a very great people, regardless of what the identity politics unions, the identity politics leftism, the identity politics communists in Congress, which are the Democrats. Socialism is a euphemism for what they really are. They're commies. I represent the solid foundation of America, which is Jesus Christ, and the Constitution, which was built upon our great Greco-Roman Christian Western civilization tradition. God bless you.